Despite major backlash from Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen is defending his trip to El Salvador with to meet with the suspected MS-13 gang member.
And this comes as DHS releases the investigative report that shows he was stopped on suspicion of human trafficking back in 2022.
That's right. Madeline Rivera is live in Washington, D.C. with all of that. Maddie, what's the latest on this human trafficking angle of this story?
Hi, guys. Good morning. That's right. This is coming from a Homeland Security Investigations report. It mentions a traffic stop for Kilmar Abrego Garcia in Tennessee back in December 2022. Police say Abrego Garcia was driving from Houston to Maryland with 8 other people in the car. Abrego Garcia told authorities they were going to do construction work, but there was no luggage in the car, and they all gave the same home address as Abrego Garcia. And that led police to suspect this was a human trafficking incident. Abrego Garcia, however, was not charged. The year before, Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, had filed for a temporary protective order against him. She alleged that he punched and scratched her, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. She was pressed about those allegations, and here's her response.
I know this is a sensitive question, but I have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
My husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay, then you know I'm not going to push on that, apparently.
President Trump also doubling down on the allegations of MS-13, though Abrego Garcia's lawyers maintain he hasn't been charged with any crime in any country.
When Garcia was originally arrested, he was wearing a sweatshirt with rolls of money pouring out, an MS-13 gang symbol, that he was driving with 2 other known violent MS-13 gang members, 2 of the most violent members that we know of in the MS-13 gang of thugs.
Regardless of the accusations against Abrego Garcia, Democrats argue he should have been able to present his case before a judge. They say the fact that he was deported without one is a big problem.
We need to bring Mr. Abrego Garcia home to protect his constitutional rights to due process. And it's also important that people understand this case is not just about one man. It's about protecting the constitutional rights of everybody who resides in the United States of America.
Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who you just saw there, also met with Abrego Garcia in El Salvador. He's addressing what has been dubbed in some reports as Margarita Gate. It comes after photos were captured of the two with what looked like margaritas on the table during their meeting.
They look like margaritas, and if you look at the one they put in front of Kilmar, it actually had a little less liquid than the one in front of me, to try to make it look, I assume, like he drank out of it. Let me just be very clear. Neither of us touched the drinks that were in front of us.
Van Hollen accused the Trump administration of trying to distract from a humanitarian issue, is what they call it. He will be on Fox News on Sunday tomorrow, and we expect him to talk more about this. Rachel, Charlie, and Emily.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Maddie.
Maddie.
Great report. So, Charlie, if you're explaining margaritas, are you losing?
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say, without a doubt. It is really, really extraordinary when you look at the people who get people from the outside, and the same with the court ruling this morning, where you have the ACLU, you have all these groups coming out to defend actual accused gang members. Right. And then you have an actual sitting member of Congress willing to stick his neck out like this. And where were these people for all of the victims of migrant crimes?
Well, you just wonder, like, especially after that remarkable interview with Michael Strahan with the wife of this MS-13 suspect, saying, "Were you ever afraid of your MS-13 husband?" And she has this, like, because obviously she twice, I think, she charged him with domestic abuse, and she wouldn't answer the question. She's afraid of him now, and he's in El Salvador. I thought that was remarkable. And also, Emily, there seems to be no regret. Like, at some point, like, he was over there when we found out about the domestic abuse charges, and he doesn't seem regretful. And since then, several Democrats have said, in Congress have said, yeah, we're going to make trips on our own dime to go over there because they didn't think that Mike Johnson would approve the expense.
Right. This is the party that loves to use the phrase credible allegations of sexual assault, right? And yet here we have in her own handwriting, she filed those motions with the court. And quoting her, she called her husband violent, abusive, really scary, detailed that he punched her in the face, left bruises all over her body. And President Trump in the Oval Office quoted her in that yesterday. You mentioned this earlier. And he went on to say, so this is the guy that the Dems want to bring back to the U.S.?
Yeah.
And to our point, it's the ongoing conversation about who are they representing? Who are they prioritizing? And the answer is they're representing not Americans, not lawful Americans, and they're prioritizing illegal immigrants with these sketchy histories at best and at most horrifying allegations that, if true, it just goes to show how our tax dollars are being wielded and the narrative that these guys are pushing.
Yeah.
Because if that's the person that they're going to bat for, no angel families. I, by the way, couldn't find one example of Senator Van Hollen meeting with an angel family or even a family of a victim of violent crime. None of that on his watch.
Patty Moore was his constituent. She's a Marylander. The guy from El Salvador is not a Marylander. He's an El Salvadoran who came here illegally, who beat up his wife, who, by the way, is the latest Me Too case, as far as I'm concerned. Democrats don't care.
Yeah.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
নারাকি মাটিতে নারাকি পাটিতে নারাকি পালকের ঘরে নারাকি মাটিতে নারাকি পাটিতে নারাকি পালকের ঘরে চিতির সুন্দরে রাখিব বন্ধুরে চিতির সিন্ধুরে রাখিব বন্ধুরে কাজল পরাণের বন্ধুরে না দেখিলে পরাণ করে না দেখিলে পরাণ করে না দেখিলে পরাণ করে কি জ্বালাতে গাছ বন্ধু পরবাসী পরে ঘরে আসি এত ঘুমে কেন ধরে বন্ধু পরবাসী পরে ঘরে আসি এত ঘুমে কেন ধরে কয়লা ঘরে এখনি পোহাইল রজনী কয়লা করে ধমি ফুয়াইল রজনী নারাকিলে দিনের ডরে নারাকিল দিনের ডরে কি জ্বালা দিয়া গেলাম মোরে নয়নের কাজল পরাণের বন্ধুরে না দেখিলে পরাণ করে না দেখিলে পরাণ করে কি জানি লেখটা নারী প্রেম গেছে কিন্তু না কইরাছে বস্ত্র কষি কষি পরে নারী প্রেম গেছে কিন্তু না কইরাছে গেলাম রে নয়নের কাজল পরাণের বন্ধুরে না দেখিলে পরাণ পড়ে না দেখিলে পরাণ পড়ে দিয়া গেলাম রে নয়নের কাজল পরাণের বন্ধুরে না দেখিলে পরাণ পড়ে না দেখিলে পরাণ পড়ে
I'm blowing out.